video is brought to you by Squarespace.
So I have this problem that I'm wondering if any of you can relate to. My fabric stash is too powerful. Listen, I'm sure like many of you, I had a frugal upbringing. I was taught that whenever you see a deal, you jump on that deal and you hang on to it for dear life. And that has resulted in me, every time I find fabric that is at least even a little bit aesthetically pleasing at the thrift store, I may possibly, without any specific plans of what I might make out of it, purchase said fabric and then hoard it in my basement like a rat. And I know you might be thinking I mean deal with like a lowercase d. No. I mean deal with a capital D. I would be a fool to pass this up except for the aforementioned hoarding that is becoming a bit of a problem. Most of this problem fabric was purchased from this thrift store. This hole-in-the-wall thrift store. It's like the island of misfit toys. Like none of the fabric that's really there is gonna get snatched up by anyone else.
Who is this
fabric
for? I'm the only person I can think of that this
fabric
is for.
Whenever I purchased the last haul of fabric from this place, which was like last October by the way, I've gotten a lot better. I got an entire bin of fabric for $1. $1. What was I supposed to do? And thus, here we are, friends. I have acquired materials for a suspiciously low financial cost, but at a great emotional cost to me because I need these items out of my life. Their existence is stressing me out. So friends, I think this week I'm going to do really the only thing that I can do, and that is a fabric stash purge. But this isn't going to be one of those purges where we chuck it in the trash bin or put it in the donations. This is going to be a purge that results in art. In this video, I am going to try to attempt to DIY my fall whimsy goth wardrobe in just a couple of days. Am I finally just making a video where I use the fabric for the intended purpose whenever I bought the fabric? Yeah, I guess I kind of am. Let's go look at my rat's nest. All right, time for me to get embarrassed. We have her, and then I got two bins back there. One of them I know has fabric that I want to use in it. Oh, it doesn't help that these are difficult to get out. Welcome to my creative arm workout video. Today we will be lifting fabric bins. This is what I have accumulated. I know it looks like a lot, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. Let's take a look. This top one, I think, has mostly, I guess, scrap material from previous projects. Yeah, mostly scrap material. I think this bottom bin, though, is unused new stuff for the most part. I had to jack the ISO all the way up for this one. Purple valance with beads on it. That's very pretty. This is a skirt that is a little too big, but it's got a cute pattern on it, so that's a possibility. I have a set of 4 of these, which I believe are chair covers, and they're kind of pretty, so I don't know if at some point I want to make them into something or I just want to use them as chair covers. This little morsel, it's got this like paisley brocade pattern on it. It's not very much of it at all, so this would have to be used sparingly. What else we got? I think most of what I have at the bottom of here. I have leftover scraps of some green velvet. It looks like that golf, you know, golf. I don't think I could explain that any more clearly. I have so much of this purple fabric. It's actually ridiculous. Guess someone had curtains in their home that would only this. And the other thing that I have a ton of in here, also probably someone's curtains once upon a time. Lacy fabric, got some florals on it, kind of looks like a mosquito net. It's cute though. And then the other big ticket item we've got here is I have a ton of this lace fabric that was also probably a valance or someone's curtain, and I have been wanting to make some kind of ghostly nightgown situation for probably like a year now. Should we hit the drawing board and get designing?
After taking note of what fabrics I had lying around, I took to Pinterest to look up some whimsy goth outfit inspo and see if there were any pieces that jumped out at me as something that I wanted in my wardrobe. I also scrolled through my costume and clothing design portfolio to see if there was anything that suited the fabrics I had, and unsurprisingly, because I literally made a whimsy goth outfit design video last year and then proceeded to ignore it until now, there were plenty of designs to choose from.
And speaking of my costume and clothing design portfolio, it was created using this video's sponsor, Squarespace. This portfolio is a place to stash all of the rough designs for things that I make on the channel and unused potential future designs because my PC is chaotic and disorganized. I also host my main illustration portfolio on my site so that potential clients and art enjoyers alike can see my pieces in glorious high resolution. And Squarespace has all the tools that I need to monitor my site and easily keep it going despite my busy schedule. Whenever I need to upload new pieces, I can do so in a few simple clicks thanks to tools like automatic dynamic image scaling in their drag and drop website builder Fluid Engine. And they also offer extensive website analytics, so I know what's working for visitors and what isn't, as well as shop analytics for my print shop, which is conveniently located right on the same website. And if you're thinking of making a portfolio of your own, no matter your experience level, you can do so quickly with their fully customizable website templates that give you easy control over text, colors, pages, and website media. Finally, their e-commerce platform also accommodates every kind of buyer or seller with a thorough range of tools, including a linked print-on-demand service that I use through Squarespace's custom merch. And they even have flexible payment options for your customers like credit cards, Apple Pay and PayPal, and even buy now and pay later options like Afterpay or ClearPay. So if you'd like to build your very own website or portfolio, head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/PricklyAlpaca to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Things that I've been looking for so long, like thrifting, looking on the internet, like on Poshmark and Depop, and I just like, for the life of me, can't find what I'm looking for. So like, I might as well just make it myself so that it is exactly what I want it to be. So here's the current plan. Excuse my like very crude drawings. I didn't feel like whipping out the iPad today. So a couple of the things that I maybe want to try to make here today. First of all, little lace waistcoat situation. Wanting one for so long. I have the lace. I'm gonna try and make it. Middle one is kind of like a white stretchy lacy version of the gothic princess dress that I made last year. I've just been wanting a white version of that because, you know, it matches my hair. I've also been really wanting like a bill sleeve whimsy goth top, which is definitely something I could find on the internet, but why not make one? Let's do it. And then I also have that skirt that I want to thrift flip either into like a little tube top like this, or maybe something closer to this situation. It depends on how confident I feel in my ability to pattern this. And then finally, this one. My idea might not work, but we'll see. I am a big fan of like just a cute, slinky 90s dress, which I have been looking all over Depop for like this entire year, and I can't really find anything that I really like. But something that I do have on hand is this table runner. I don't really know what it is, but it's just a giant black piece of fabric and it's lined with itself. What I think I'm gonna try to do is just like cut it open so that it becomes just a tube, and then I can like kind of pin it onto myself to create like a more flattering shape. And then I'll hopefully have sort of like a 90s slinky dress, but something that cost a grand total of $2.99. So here is the pattern situation so far. I have a couple of different patterns, mostly for like the torso bodice area. So I have this one. This is the Rose Cafe bodice. This is my like boho whimsy goth top pattern. And then this one I've used before. It's just the standard Ren Faire Bodice from corsetpatternmaker.com. I think I'll still have a couple more things to pattern out other than this, like maybe a sleeve or two. I have skirts to do for sure, but I think all of the skirt type pieces I'm going to use circle skirts for. I think I'm going to try to get the quote-unquote easy things out of the way first by trying to conquer like the long black tube dress. I'm just gonna go in with this and see what happens. I'm just gonna cut the edges off. I need to go to the ground for a moment.
2 seconds later.
We have a tube now. The next step, see if we can get my body in the tube. I feel like I'm gonna do one of those like potato sack races. I feel like a fool. We have a dress. So this is like way too long for me. I was expecting that. Oh, walking is already a terrible experience. Look at this. Oh, I'm used to moving my legs with so much more gusto. This is so limiting. Wait, was this a bad idea? I can't assume a wide stance. Okay, so maybe the first stage is deciding, is this a bad idea? Wait, you know what we're gonna do? We can just add like a giant leg slit. Very scientific. We're gonna cut it about right here. Listen, sometimes you know how to sew, but then you reject your training. And by training, I mean, oh, some of you who care are gonna hate this. It's fun. We're gonna fix this hem later. See? Look at that. That's gonna be a bodice a little bit later, if I have time. I wanna be on. What if I put in the zipper first? That way it's there. I have it, and I can just do whatever from there. Behold, Aren't they beautiful? So for this to work properly, I need to find one that's like long enough. And this one I think is in black and it's 12 inches. I hope this one's long enough. I feel like this one should work. I gotta make it wide enough in the right places. Ah, frick. I think the other thing I'm gonna do is make the back just a little bit shorter than the front so that I get a little bit more my camera battery cut out. Like a slightly lower back. It's just sophisticated. Like, you see a woman in a dress with a kind of low back, and you're like, who's that? I want to talk to her. Like, I doubt this is gonna be completely center, but what do you want from me? I'm making a dress out of a table runner. Do you guys ever get a little scared of your sewing machine after like not using it for a little while? And you're like, ah, machine. And you start sewing, you're like, oh, I remember this. This is actually fine. Especially with zippers. There's like metal involved.
So after complaining about installing a zipper and then the zipper installation actually going pretty smoothly, I did proceed to start draping this dress on myself, which proved to just be a generally annoying activity. I don't recommend doing this at all. It was helpful to get my general body size since my torso proportions are pretty different from my dress form, but it was a mess. It was messy. So after that, I did, after pressing my fabric because I forgot to do that in the first place, put the dress onto my dress form to do a final fitting, which was unsurprisingly significantly easier to do. And this is still inside out at this point, but it fit a lot better. It was looking nice, so I decided to throw it on the sewing machine and sew it up, thereby committing to the decisions that I had made, and that actually went pretty okay. So from there, I finally cut the leg slit into the dress so that my gams could breathe. Sewed that thing up as quickly as humanly possible because this thing sheds like a black cat in the middle of the summertime. I added a couple of straps onto this bad boy, and just like that, the tube has become a dress.
I think I ended up making this in about 4 hours. I honestly just really love how this came out. I mean, it's not perfect.
Does this dress kind of have more wrinkles than a bull mastiff's sweet tender forehead? Sure, but I think it adds to the charm of the whole thing.
Next, this blouse. Girl's gotta have her serotonin. So for our little celestial whimsy goth top, I think what I'm gonna try to do for this is generally use a basic bodice pattern that I've used in the past, but then try to kind of pattern boobie area off of this little swimsuit bikini. I really like the style where it's like more of a triangular cut and then gathered at the bottom, so I think I'm gonna basically trace this and then stretch it out and sew it onto some elastic so that it has that bunched ruffled effect, but then still stays stretchy the same way this fabric is stretchy. Let's do it.
So for this blouse, I did exactly as I have just explained. I traced out a general Dorito shape for the bust area based on the little bikini that I had. And then for the rest of the bodice, I used a pattern that I've used many times. It's the Rose Cafe bodice pattern. It always fits really well. It's great. To start the construction, I measured out some elastic to go at the bottom of each of my Doritos. To get that gathered effect, I just pulled the elastic as I sewed and used a zigzag stitch. And then whenever you release the elastic, it creates nice little gathers. And then it's still stretchy. It's great. Ignore how uneven these are. I'm still not that good at this technique. I also finished the edges of these chest Doritos up with a rolled hem on all sides. I sewed the bodice together off screen because you guys really don't want to see that. It's real boring. But I did partially line this bodice with a satin fabric and only left 2 of the panels stretchy, so it's a little stretchy, but still mostly has structure to it. I then pinned the Doritos onto the bodice, finished those up with a zigzag stitch, and the best way I found to close the back on this was to add a zipper, which would be great, except I didn't have a separating zipper, so this zipper zips down and then like doesn't come undone all the way, so I have to slip it over my head and it's kind of annoying. I finished it up completely by sewing on some ties to make it a halter top and a little bow in the center to hide some of my messiness. But what's that? What's that sitting there? During the process of cutting, I noticed that one of the edges looked like it could be a bralette, so I said, why not? Let's make it into a bralette. I randomly had this set of hook and eyes sitting in my drawer from something else I cut it off of. I hoarded these in a drawer for 6 years for this exact moment, apparently. Sewing this up was very similar to the Doritos on the first top. I just did a rolled hem on the edges of all of this. I then measured and sewed on some straps, but didn't film that. I instead filmed me sewing on a couple of very cute little bows, because why not? And there we go. We got 2 new garments out of the skirt, and they're a little messy, but as we've established, my standards for my own clothing are very low, so I don't really care. I think they're really cute. I'm gonna wear them. Okay, so far I'm extremely happy with how the garments are turning out in this video. The 2 that I just made only took me a couple more hours, so we're even doing well on scheduling, which is something that I'm very surprised by. So I think
Next, what I'm going to try to tackle is a couple of different things, but I mainly want to focus on like the lace waistcoat here because I feel like that's going to take me a little while to do. And then at the same time, I think I'm also going to try to start mocking up like the black Ren Faire bodice. And then I also just generally want to start cutting out pieces for the bodice of my little like bell sleeve hippie top. This middle design, if I can even get to it, is probably going to take me by far the longest out of any of these because I've made something similar in the past and it was an entire video topic. So I'm gonna leave that for like a little bit later. I'm trying to get things done. You know what I mean? Okay, so in the time since my camera battery died, I've just been doing a lot of cutting. I've got the little black Ren Faire bodice cut out, and I also have all of the pieces for the lace waistcoat. Bodice area here, that's the back, the top of the sleeves, the bottom kind of flowy part of the sleeves, and then the skirt is lying over there on the floor. I've also cut a little pile of lace trim to use in various places. And then on the floor, we have boho top. This entire cutting process has taken 2 hours. She does this with her claws out.
So I'm going to give you the cliff notes on this unexpectedly dramatic boho top saga that just, it was my stupidity and I wasted a lot of time, but here's what happened. After cutting out the lace waistcoat and the hippie top, I figured I'd just get a head start on it and sew the hippie top up. I didn't think it would take that long, so I sewed it up and unexpectedly it did not fit right at all, which was strange because whenever I looked back at the sizing chart, everything looked great. It was all my correct measurements. The size I cut should have fit me to a T, basically. So at this point, I got really frustrated because I could not figure out what the problem was or if I just did something wrong with the construction itself. I then slept on it so that I could think a little bit more clearly about the whole thing, and then spent a couple of hours the next day doing detective work to try and figure it out. I even altered the panel of the back of the bodice thinking that maybe it's just my back is too powerful. Maybe that's the issue with the pattern, and I sewed that up hoping that it would fit. Then it still did not fit. I then finally had the stroke of genius thinking, oh, maybe it doesn't fit because the listing on Etsy said it was for a jersey fabric, which is stretchy. Maybe it's because I'm not using a stretch fabric for this, and that's not why it's fitting. So I finally messaged the seller and asked them who confirmed, yeah, that's the problem. So the moral of the story is read a book, or at least read the Etsy listing whenever you buy something and you try to make it. But the actual silver linings playbook of it all was not only that I have a stretch fabric on hand that I could just like start making this shirt out of so that I had the intended thing. I also sort of altered the pattern of this enough so that it worked with the fabric that wasn't a stretch fabric. So by the end of this, I did end up with 2 shirts. So the stretchy version of this top ended up getting cut out of this stretchy sage-colored lace that I had lying around from a previous project. This was so incredibly easy to make whenever you do it the right way. I highly recommend the pattern. But in the midst of all that chaos, I needed something to take it down a notch and chill me out a bit. So on that evening, I also sewed up the lace waistcoat. Since the pattern was Frankenstein, this required a little bit of fitting and tweaking, but it overall went together very smoothly. Sewing a stiffer lace like this is also generally pretty forgiving, especially if you're using a matching thread. So I didn't even have to be that clean about it, and it still looked pretty good.
So it is currently at the point in the evening where you can see little bats flying around feeding on insects. There they are. See if I can focus on these. Oh, there he is. Coming in hot. There we go. Oh, come back. I love elusive sky rats. Hello. It's finally come to this, and that is making this 3-tiered ginormous circle skirt. So for this, I'm just going to be using the Makara Tours method again, which is the method that I used last time I made this. It's pretty simple and straightforward. It just sucks because it's so much sewing and gathering, cutting, and you know, just the parts of making things that I absolutely hate. Last time I did this, I used this black organza, which at least has like enough structural integrity to it. The cutting was not so bad. This time I'm going to be using these curtains, which I've described several times as just like mosquito net fabric. Very fine, very sheer. Absolutely no idea how well cutting this is going to go, but oh my goodness, it's so pretty. Look at that. One of the things that really helped me with this last time is that there was like a finished edge on the cut of organza that I received, so I just used that along the bottom of the skirt and I didn't have to do any hemming. I think what I'm going to do is use this trim hopefully as the bottom of the sleeve area. That way at least like the bottom of the sleeves look nice. And then each edge of this does already have a hem on it. So I should be able to just like do basically the same thing. Use that hemmed edge again, and then that at least saves me a little bit of work. Like I'm already thinking about sewing this very fine net fabric together, and it makes me want to throw up a little bit. So on this pattern, the bottom section is the longest at 10 yards, and then it goes up to 5 yards, and then it goes up to, I guess, 2-ish yards. Should have plenty of fabric for this. That's not a huge concern. I just need to figure out how long to make these, because this is patterned for someone who is a good bit taller than I am. I think that this creator is like 5'8", 5'10". I famously am 5'3", so if I divide my height up within a good proportion, let's see how tall my legs are. My legs are about 44 inches tall. So I think I came up with a pretty good ratio. I think I'm gonna go for 20 and then 15 and then 9 on the very top tier. So I have 2 of these. I folded one of them into quarters and then measured it. Looks like I have a total of 216 inches of length in one of these, so about 6 yards per, sheet of fabric, which puts me at around 12 yards total, which should be enough to do what I want to do, because the bottom is supposed to be a continuous 10 yards, minus maybe like a yard or so if I want to make the sleeves out of this like nice bottom hem trim. Because I think for the sleeve I might just do like a big old bat sleeve or something like that, gather it at the top. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I think that should work. Let's get cutting.
So the fact that each curtain ended up being 6 yards of fabric really came in handy, because I just ended up cutting off a yard on each of them at the very end so that I could use the decorative edge for my sleeves later on. And then whenever it came to cutting the skirt tiers, I just left them folded, which was a way smarter way to do this than the way I did it last time. I just like cut them straight. Since I pre-measured them, I knew that each curtain set had 5 yards of length in it, so I was able to go straight into cutting the tiers of my skirt and focus on the width instead. I cut 5 yards across the bottom edge of each of the curtains so that I would have that pre-hemmed, and those combined 5 yards added up to the 10 yards that I needed. And then I had to just cut 15 inches across on one of the curtains to get my other 5 yards, and then I just measured out another 2 yards. And with all of the scraps, I had plenty left over, so I just took the exact same bodice pattern that I used for the previous waistcoat and decided to keep it simple and just use it again here. For the sleeves, again, I wanted that drapey medieval style sleeve, so I measured the length of my arm up to an actual sleeve pattern so that I could have the pattern fit within the arm's eye, and then I ended up just cutting a general bell shape to conserve the nice edge of that curtain. And once all of the bodice pieces were cut out, you've seen me make this bodice already in this video, so I just stitched it up real quick. Then I quickly stitched up the sleeves just right alongside that cut edge, and then I just sewed those onto the bodice.
It is now time to do something laborious. We gotta sew together this skirt. I am really being overdramatic about the process of this. The real annoying part is just this. The collection of activities that contribute to making this beautiful skirt are among my least favorite things to do while sewing. It's just some fresh hell, but it's gonna be worth it. But as for the actual process, so first I'm going to need to gather this to, I guess, like the waist or jacket circumference, because this is the uppermost tier. And then I gather the middle tier, which is the 5 yard tier, and then so on for the tier that is 10 yards long. I've already sewn that together. Again, pretty straightforward, it just takes forever and I don't like it. It sort of starts gathering itself already. That's kind of nice that it like already starts doing some of the work for me. I don't hate that. Apparently a mechanical sewing machine makes a huge difference, because that took about 15 minutes. We're not quite out of the woods yet for the annoying part though, because next comes actually gathering these to each other. So I first need to gather this so that it is the same size as the bottom of this waistcoat. I need to spread these out a bit more, but this is about where we want to be. And then I'm just gonna leave the bottom as is, because I want it to have as much slack as possible. This is where things begin to get tricky. welcome to the final day of doing this because I've spent 7 days on this video already and I really just need to get a move on so that I can like film the reveal and edit it and put it up on YouTube. So this is the insane list of the things that I have to still accomplish today by the end of the day. And what's better is I'm also getting a late start because I stayed out too late last night. I don't know, a lot of it's little things, but the main, I guess, big thing that I need to accomplish today is I need to actually sew together like the black Ren Faire bodice, because with all of the other distractions that I've experienced in this video, I've neglected to do literally any of that. But it's a pretty quick process. I've made at least 2 of these before. It takes like, I don't know, like maybe 2 hours. I did already cut out the fashion fabric for the Ren Faire bodice thing, but I don't have like any structural fabric in here because this stuff is just like, I mean, it's really nothing, isn't it? So I need to cut out some canvas to go underneath that because I think that's gonna be a pretty good stabilizer for this bodice. Usually I like to have more of like a tapestry-like fabric for one of these just because it's a little bit thicker, but I think the painting canvas that I use as sewing canvas will probably also do the trick. Let's cut some canvas.
So we're gonna do a little sewing lightning round for this, as to not make this video 40 minutes long. First I cut out some canvas. I then sewed said canvas together in a bodice shape. This took absolutely no time at all. I then sewed up the front and back sides of the fashion fabric, and yep, that is me again pressing my fabric after cutting and sewing it. Feel free to berate my practices in the comments. I then pinned all 3 layers along the top together with the incorrect color of bias tape. Don't worry, we're going to fix that later. I sewed that along the top. I then went on a Dollar General adventure to get zip ties, and then I had those. So I installed 2 or 3 of these in each of the boning channels because they were tiny, cute little zip ties. They probably honestly didn't even do much for this piece. But then I could finish the bottom off with some bias tape, finish off the front 2 sides with some bias tape, and oh gee golly was my sewing machine working overtime on this one. And now it was time to fix that neon bias tape, and I did that by essentially mixing a little bit of black airbrush paint with some water and just going in and painting on it and going ham. I've done this before and it actually works pretty well. I might go in with one more coat later on the straps because they ended up looking a little bit brown, but for the most part, in a pinch, this fulfills my need for black bias tape. And then it was finally time for the best part of the entire video.
It is now grommet time, yay! Just kidding, I hate this.
I know this joke is getting old, but I hate this part. I don't like it. It takes so long, and sometimes I hit my fingers with the hammer. But the bodice got an entire usual set of grommets. With the black bodice complete and looking pretty decent, it was now time to problem solve the sleeves on the auburn boho top.
See this? So to install the little grommets, all I did was just add a little facing inside each of the sleeves, so that just flips over. This exposed part is now gonna look like it has a finished edge, and it can also take a little bit more tension from the grommet. And I did the same thing also on the bodice section. It's a little messier, but the sleeve here also has just a little facing on the top that flips on the inside and gives it a nice finished edge. They can also have grommets installed in it.
This top ended up looking a little rustic because I was a little bit messy with everything and it underwent some changes, but I don't think it turned out bad for something that was essentially a salvage job, and I think the medieval style sleeves are also really cute. Thankfully at this point all of the tricky finishings were out of the way, and the rest of the night consisted of relatively chill sewing lace trim onto things, lots and lots of rolled hems, and a couple of little ties and other fastenings.
And we're finally done. I feel like this is definitely the most that I've ever sewn in a single video. So let's do a little tally of everything because I don't even think I can keep it straight in my head actually. We have black slip dress, celestial halter top, celestial bralette, green boho top, auburn boho top, lace waistcoat number 1, another suspiciously similar lace waistcoat that I've been mentally calling a nightgown, and a corset bodice top thing. That's a lot of stuff, honestly. I really didn't think I was gonna get to that much in this video, but I'm glad that I'm actually putting some of this fabric to use, finally. Now I'm gonna go to bed because I'm delirious, but let's style a bunch of looks with these because there's so much stuff here, oh my gosh. See you tomorrow. Hello there. Welcome to the end of the video. Every time I do one of these videos where I make a lot of stuff or style outfits, I'm reminded of just how freaking long it takes to film a reveal or a styling session. Like, I've been at this for hours. I wanted to do just a quick little wrap up. Sorry, it's just there's a donkey screaming very loud right now. So I wanted to do just a quick little wrap up at the end of the video to discuss the process. Like, overall, there's not a whole lot to say. I'm more or less really satisfied with everything that I made, and I'm really excited to like style it in additional ways. I guess if there was a takeaway, I just got really enthusiastic this week, and I had a lot of energy, and I just wanted to do a lot and accomplish a lot. And as the thesis of this video goes, use up a lot of the fabric that I had. Absolutely not. There's things moving around in the woods behind me. Not today. I cannot deal with this right now. The thesis of the video was to use up fabric that I had lying around, and I think that I pretty successfully did that. But I think I definitely could have stood to just make less and focus on quality a little bit more. YouTube tends to be more is more, and I'm trying to feed less into that because I think it's stupid. YouTube is not exactly conducive to quality in general. So there's like a couple of little tweaks and finishings that I could probably still do so that they're like exactly what I want. But overall, they're pretty good. I can't focus because I'm worried that there's something behind me. It's fine. The only thing that I really had a problem with was the mistake that I made in not using a stretch fabric for that initial top, but I still like generally made it work. I just had to modify it a little bit. But I'm really happy about that because I didn't end up wasting fabric even though I made a mistake. So that's good. And it's cute. I'm gonna wear it. I think the best things that I got out of this video were the two like waistcoat nightgown pieces. I don't even really know what to call them because I didn't end up essentially making them waistcoats in the end because your girl's on her period right now and I just didn't want that much going on. I already made a corset in this video. There's only so much compression that I can take right now. But those two pieces were designs that I made all the way back last year, and that is why I bought the fabric in the first place. I've been wanting to make those and I really, really love them. The other thing I really, really like, weirdly enough, is this stupid tube dress. I'm already like planning, like next time I go out to a function, I'm going to wear probably this exact outfit. It's kind of messed up, but I still like it. I don't know, there's something in me lately with all of the like, I don't know, minimalist culture and the perfectionism and the AI of it all that I like things that are just a little bit messed up. Like a human being had to get its hands on this thing to like mess it up. I guess I just like the touch of human chaos in my pieces right now. I'm kind of just rambling at this point because I keep hearing noises in the woods behind me and I'm just not in the mental space to be able to deal with that and talk to the camera at the same time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and got absolutely anything out of it because the filming of this was very chaotic and I probably could have taken care to explain things a little bit better. It happens. We'll do better next time. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, thank you so very much. All of my videos are so long and I don't know if anyone's even here. But as always, the biggest thank you for this video and every single one of my videos goes to my beautiful patrons and especially my executive producers. I hope that it's just all you hiding in the woods behind me and not anything else. I'm gonna go inside now.
And a huge thank you goes to VickyArt16, Audra, Ariana Trenda, Ink Moon Arts, Ember Creeps, Jaden Cypher, Cardia X, Christina Kimtia Art, Call Me Ash, Blaze Ravenscar, Lunira, Faith, Mossy Raven, loving the longer ranty videos, I'm not saying that name on the internet, ABW Makes, Sarah, Hopes and Crafts, Icegavan, Awendu, Liana, Ermler Jean, Anubix, Breeza, Sony, Brian, Phoenix, Rose Draconi, Freedom and Gus Gus, Kat, Dodo, Zyle S, Agent.Sketchy, Thea Maia, Lovisa, Eloquent Silence, Megan Penland, Enozine, India Gloom, Hypnos, Katie, Sweet Winter Garden, Gravity Drop, I Hang Out with Cats at Parties, and Bean the Bread.
Where's the baby? There she is.